Good morning, everybody. My name is Suzanne Beal. I'm the Vice President of Government Relations and Public Policy and Counsel at the IFA. If you're unfamiliar with the International Franchise Association, we're the world's oldest and largest trade association representing franchising worldwide. We represent both the franchise brands, the individual franchise owners, and suppliers to the sector across the country. And today we are so pleased to co-host this special event on the new COVID EIDL rules with our friends at the SBA, along with the U.S. Black Chambers. I'd first like to welcome our great friend, Talisha Bekovac at the U.S. Black Chambers for some opening remarks. Talisha.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Good morning. My name is Talisha Bekovac, and I'm the Vice President of Government and External Affairs here at the U.S. Black Chambers. For those of you all who aren't familiar with the U.S. Black Chambers, we are the largest association of Black Chambers of Commerce in the country, with a membership base of over 380,000 Black-owned businesses that we represent. And we really want to applaud the SBA for all the changes you've made to the EIDL program to make it work better for small businesses. Chief among them are the changes that were made to simplify some of the affiliation requirements, which made the process very similar to how businesses access funds from the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. That program was extremely popular within our base and a keystone of recovery in the Black business community. Additionally, we want to recognize the implementation of the new size standard, which enables businesses in the hardest hit areas with 500 or fewer employees and up to 20 locations to access more pandemic relief. It's really that type of intentionality in focusing on the smallest franchisors that will have the biggest impact in getting more funding to Black-owned franchisors. So again, we want to commend the SBA for continuing to improve the EIDL program to make it work better for small businesses. And we encourage the administration to continue doing more of these outreach events to get the word out that there's still funding available in this critical program, and the U.S. Black Chambers will be here to support you every step of the way. Thanks so much for having us. And again, over to you, Suzanne.
Thanks, Talisha. Always a pleasure to work with you. And now I'd love to welcome in Patrick Kelly. He's the Associate Administrator at the Office of Capital Access at the SBA. In this role, Mr. Kelly leads the OCA, which helps make capital available through banks and other lending partners to small businesses just like you that would not be able to access credit conventionally. Mr. Kelly has an impressive background, having served as Executive Vice President for Channel Partnerships at Live Oak Bank, as well as at the U.S. Department of Commerce, providing guidance to the Undersecretary of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Welcome, Patrick, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you to IFA and to the Black Chamber. Talisha, you couldn't have said the program parameters better, so I hope to be as good. I welcome everybody from IFA. Administrator Guzman hit the ground in March and is focused like a laser on being your voice, and in particular supporting franchise owners all across the country. As Talisha pointed out, they are vital to all segments of our society, and certainly have been shellacked by this wicked pandemic. So we are happy to talk today about some improvements. And I think the theme that you should walk away from today is that we've tried to take the mix and match some of the best parts of the loan and grant programs and can kind of combine them here again, and hopefully get franchise owners across the Rubicon of recovery. Now that we've moved, I think, a little bit beyond the emergency phase and into the recovery phase, we want to get back to normal, and we know this product is essential for doing that. So my colleague Nicola is going to join me here, and we do encourage questions in the chat, and we will be trying to answer those as we go. And then from time to time, I'll pause a little bit to take some questions directly, and then we'll wrap up with that. We know we won't get to every question, which is the theme of any webinar, but obviously the IFA will provide those questions to us. We will answer those, get those back to you, because it's really through the questions, quite frankly, that the program gets better. And Administrator Guzman is very intentional in making sure that we are customer centric and we are meeting you where you are. So Nicole, let's scroll forward here on slide 2. Great. So we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits today. COVID EIDL has been around. So if you applied in 2020 or have recently applied for an increase up to 500,000, you do not need to create a new application. You will seek the new relief through your existing application or applications. You can apply for multiple COVID EIDL loans if you have separate EINs and you are in the NAICS codes that have been more substantially impacted than others, and we'll go into that today. But I want to talk about this loan and why it's absolutely critical to your recovery. It has generous terms, so 3.75% fixed rate loan. It has a 30-year repayment horizon. And we announced last week, President Biden, Administrator Guzman announced that we are extending the deferment period from 18 months to 24 months. So what that means is while interest will accrue during that period, you will not need to make principal and interest payments. And that particular change, coupled with the fact that this COVID EIDL loan can be subordinate to your existing debt. So if you have a franchise loan from the SBA's 7A program, for example, which is wildly popular, or you have a conventional loan from the many lenders out there that support franchises, they will want to continue to be in senior position, and this loan can be subordinate. And because of the 2 years of deferment, the way that the lender will treat that cash from this loan for that period of time is it will not count towards your debt service coverage ratios. It will be treated temporarily as cash on the balance sheet, which will make you look stronger temporarily, which can enable them to work with you hopefully more and better, and obviously mitigate any coverage ratio challenges that may trip fees or additional rates. So it's a subordinate note, 3.75% fixed rate, 30-year repayment period. There's no prepayment penalties. So again, very generous terms. We're also going to talk about some flexible use of proceeds that we've changed to align it with some of the provisions that we made available in the Restaurant Revitalization Program. So you'll recall in the Restaurant Revitalization Program, we allowed proceeds from the award to be used to service debt. And so what we announced last week, President Biden, Administrator Guzman announced, is that you'll have the ability to prepay commercial debt and make payments as you go on federal debt, and we'll get into that. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how you apply a new application and a little bit about how you apply for loan modification increases and some of the steps. Let's go to the next slide. Great. So to recap, this loan goes up to $2 million. So the COVID EIDL loan program was temporarily lowered the ceiling for a period of time through March. Administrator Guzman came in and part of her confirmation pledge to America's small businesses was to reinstate the full authority of this program up to $2 million. Normally disaster loans go up to $2 million. So now loans will be able to be obtained up to $2 million. We do have an exclusivity period. And as Talisha mentioned at the outset, we're being intentional about making sure that the smallest of the small businesses get the benefits first. But everyone can apply for an increase or a new loan up to $2 million beginning today, or actually beginning September 8th. For amounts greater than $500,000, we will process and consider your loan, get it ready for approval, but we will not approve or disperse amounts in excess of $500,000 until October 8th. As I mentioned, you can prepay commercial debt, make regularly scheduled payments on federal debt. And so what that means is if you have outstanding credit card debt, you can pay that off. You can make principal and interest payments on a line of credit. You might have a commercial mortgage and you want to accelerate payments. One of the things that I will counsel you on is that a lot of commercial debt instruments do have prepayment penalties in the agreement that you sign. So make sure that you understand that and what the trade-offs are. But at 3.75%, swapping out payments at that low fixed rate that's paid back over 30 years for likely higher interest rates paid back over a shorter period of time is a great strategy to free up cash to be used for other purposes during the recovery here. On federal debt, you might have a 7A loan or a 504 loan from the SBA, for example, is federal business debt, and you can make P&I payments as you go. So similar to the Section 1112 provisions of the CARES Act, which enabled the SBA to make 6 months of principal and interest payments on any SBA microloan, 504 loan, or 7A loan. You will be able to make payments on federal debt as you go. Mentioned the 24 deferment, how that works with subordination to strengthen you in the eyes of other creditors. As Talisha mentioned, we took the restaurant affiliation language from the statute there and have applied it to this particular program. So affiliation, particularly for franchise owners in their relation to SBA, can be a delicate dance. It can be a little bit tricky and hard. But for purposes of COVID EIDL, we have taken a very simple definition for affiliates and said that it's if any operating entity applicant owns 50% or more of another operating entity, you must list that affiliate. So this is a simpler, cleaner way to approach affiliation that the administrator wanted to deploy for this emergency program. Again, the Economic Aid Act, which was passed back in December, had some great provisions specifically for the industries that have been hardest hit, which of course would include the franchise industry. And so if you are eligible under these NAICS codes, which the folks on this call would be, and you have no more than 500 employees per physical location and have no more than 20 locations total, and you meet all of the other eligibility requirements and have a separate EIN, you can apply for multiple $2 million loans not to exceed a $10 million aggregate limit. And that $10 million aggregate limit across common ownership is the same standard that was applied in the restaurant revitalization program. I'm going to pause there and just see if there are any questions, Nicola, that you see that we could amplify.
We have a question that I've received 2 emails saying I need to download the form 4506T from the website. I've done this, but I don't seem to be getting anywhere. The response back is pretty generic. Is there a phone number to call or a specific contact person to reach out to discuss?
Yeah, so we can provide to IFA the resources, but recently we improved the SBA's reconsideration process for COVID EIDL. The process was, in all honesty, not great heading into the summer, had some flaws. One of the major changes that we've done is to integrate at the field office personnel so that they can directly go in with your loan identification number, read the notes from the loan officer, and then assist you with the right documentation, including 4506T. Some of the 4506T errors that are most common involve using a PO box as your business address as opposed to a physical business address, and making errors from what you filed versus what you're providing through the tax transcript request. So I think we'll drop into the chat some links on where you can go for FAQs related to this at sba.gov, as well as the links to go into the portal. All of the district office folks now have a line of sight on what's happening with your application. This is a new development. We are also going to do a better job in the decline letters that you receive before seeking reconsideration to spell out the reasons for the decline better, and also indicate what documents you need to provide for reconsideration in order to get a second look. And we've surged resources beginning on the 4th of July to a limit eliminate a 600,000 unit backlog that had built up for the loan modification increases. And there was also a pretty significant backlog in reconsiderations. We have surged personnel, developed better automation, and we have eliminated those. So the experience should move at a pace significantly better than it had the previous 14 months. Cole, any other questions?
Yeah, I think also this one might be getting at that you still need to fill out your 4506T that you downloaded and upload it back into the portal in order
Yes.
to complete the application submission. Okay, so another question is, can you prepay on a 504 first, or must you pay as you go with the updated use of funds?
Yeah, so the 504 first is a commercial loan. You can make accelerated payments. Yes.
And
Alright.
Nicole, before you jump in with another question, just wanted to share that we do have another special guest from the SBA, your colleague Deidre, who wanted to share some remarks. If we could welcome her in.
Great.
Caitlin, would you be able to bring Deidre in, please? Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hey, thanks. I am always pleased to be here with Patrick and Nicola, and really only wanted to just affirm for all of us gathered here the commitment of Administrator Guzman to emergency relief in all the forms that it takes at SBA, and that commitment shows up in giving you some of the best and brightest at SBA, like Patrick Kelly and Nicola, to focus on this work, and that all of CAP Access, as well as the whole SBA family, is really, really focused on improving the experience with COVID EIDL, as well as through all our programs, being very, very customer, client, and partner centric in the way that we approach this work. And Patrick has outlined some of the ways in which we're doing that and trying to improve your experience with this program. I don't want to take a lot of time. I think a lot of important information's been shared, and I absolutely want to leave time for questions to be answered. But I did want to reaffirm that we are so committed to helping small businesses. I think COVID has taught us all one thing in particular, that small businesses are not just it's not just a nice platitude to say that small businesses are the engine of our economy. It is the truth. And if we want our economy to grow, if we intend to build back better, we can't do it without you. And so we are leaning in to supporting you in finding your sea legs on not only getting back to business, but getting back better. So thank you so much for the time, Patrick and Nicola. I'm going to get out of the way and let you continue to just share good news and answer questions. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot, Deidre. So Nicole, I guess maybe just let's revisit some of the questions, and then we'll kind of move quickly through the next couple slides, and maybe just do a touch on a little bit of just the slides regarding the application. Are you
all right.
Yep.
If a business is coming to the end of a lease, can we move the location and use the money for improvements?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, working capital expenses related to that, but there are better forms of debt for leasehold improvements. But working capital expenses, supplies, that type of thing, you can use these proceeds pretty flexibly. Typically, leasehold improvements typically align better with the time horizon for a project, but certainly making new rent payments, moving expenses associated with moving to a different space, all of that's inbounds, fair game.
All right. We file one tax filing but have many LLCs with EINs and have existing EIDL loans. Can each LLC apply for more funds?
If those individual location LLCs have a separate EIN, then yes. If not, then you are limited to the holding company EIN. So the way to think about this, because a lot of people have familiarity with PPP, is the way that we're approaching COVID EIDL for franchises is the same methodology that was used for PPP. So how you applied for PPP is how you should apply for COVID EIDL.
All right,
All
I
right.
think we should keep going.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to briefly touch on here. There's for amounts greater than 500,000. If your business owns real estate, the business owns real estate, not individual investors have investments in real estate, not your personal real estate. But if the business owns business real estate, we will take a lien on that. If you do not have business real estate, you do not have fixed assets, that is not a problem. This is a credit elsewhere program. There is a minimum credit score in excess of 500,000 of 625. Below 500,000, the minimum credit score is 570. And then again, you can make prepayments on commercial debt and make your regularly scheduled payments on federal debt. So let's move to the next slide. So the thing that I want to touch upon here is just kind of to reemphasize, I think we've gone over the affiliation standard, but I want to emphasize that the definition from the Restaurant Revitalization Program was very simple. If the operating entity applicant owns more than 50% of another operating entity, it must list it as affiliate. This is a broader, more liberal definition than is traditionally used at the SBA, which normally requires ownership interests of 20% or more to indicate any operating entities that owner of 20% or more has 50% or greater. So this standard is easier than that. There is still a requirement for any owner of 50% or more to provide a personal guarantee. With respect to size standards, for the industries that have been most impacted, which franchises would fall into, if you employ not more than 500 employees per physical location, and together with affiliates have no more than 20 locations, you can seek up to $10 million across common ownership, not to exceed $2 million on any individual location applied for with a separate EIN. And so this combination is a way to accommodate as many franchises as possible, similar to the way that PPP approached it and the Restaurant Revitalization Program approached it. Let's go to the next slide. So this just highlights the fact that franchises are in, and then we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so we do have an exclusivity period. So if you've not applied before and you're eligible for $2 million, and a quick way to determine your eligibility for the loan amount is to take your 2019 gross sales receipts, subtract your 2019 cost of goods sold, and then multiply by 2. And that will more or less be your loan amount. If that equals $2 million and you have not yet applied for COVID EIDL in 2020 or 2021, you can start a new application. You can either apply for the full $2 million and we'll consider it and process it, and we'll approve it and disperse it post October 8th. Or you can apply first for $500,000, be approved for that within 3 weeks and dispersed money. Then after the disbursement, come back in and seek the full increase, 1.5 million in my example, up to 2 million, and receive those funds later in October. So you have that flexibility if you're new. If you've already sought the maximum amount previously available up to 500,000, you can go into Portal today. You do not need to create a new application. You'd log back into Portal and seek a loan increase. In Portal, you should be able to see a button if you're eligible to seek an amount in excess of 500,000. One of the reasons that you would not see that button is that your loan increase that you were seeking from 150,000 to 500,000 is still being processed. Your 4506T data that reflects your gross sales receipts and cost of goods sold demonstrates that times 2, you are not eligible for an amount in excess of 500,000. But if folks don't have those 2 issues and they cannot see the loan modification increase button, and they want to seek an amount over 500,000, if you have any issue, you can take a screenshot and provide that information, and Nicola will drop into the chat some instructions about how to disseminate that information to us and work, and so we can work with you. I think that covers this particular thing. I want to get to the next slide to talk about documents. Obviously tax, if you've learned nothing from the last horrible year in your lives as business owners, and I don't mean to make light of that, it must be an extraordinary thing that you've gone through, and I completely empathize. But you have definitely provided your income taxes over and over again. So we will request your income taxes. We will ask you to validate through an IRS form 4506T. For loan amounts in excess of 500,000, there are 4 more essential forms. The first, the standard resolution form, what that is it says that you as the applicant on behalf of your business has the agency to encumber your business with debt on behalf of your business. So that standard resolution form gives us the green light to allow you to move forward. Schedule of liabilities is your debt schedule. So any outstanding business debt that the business has, and then any real estate that the business owns. So again, not personal property, not investor property, but the business owns. And then with respect to the last form, any owner of 20% or more will need to provide a personal financial statement. So I think we'll pause here and just get some more questions from Nicola, and then I think maybe we'll maybe hang with the questions. Or Nicola, do you want to kind of go through the application flow, or how do you want to proceed?
We can start with questions and then go through the application flow. So I started a franchise service business in February of 2021. I've maxed my SBA loan disbursements. How do I find out about benefits that can either postpone my loan payments or gain access to more debt?
Yeah, so you wobbled a little bit in that. So I'm sorry, I didn't catch the full question.
I started a franchise service business in February of 2021. I have maxed my SBA loan disbursements. How do I find out about benefits that can either postpone my loan payments or gain access to more debt?
So if you're seeking a deferral, you would go to your lender. As far as the COVID EIDL program, you needed to be in business prior to, I believe it was January 31st, 2020, in order to be eligible for this disaster loan. But you can work with your lender for and request deferrals on outstanding debt from your SBA lender directly.
All right. I received the initial EIDL and it saved us. Thank you. However, we desperately need the additional amount. We requested it months and months ago. I keep getting told there is a backlog. It is taking forever. My question or comment is, why is everyone saying there's unclaimed money when I'm trying to borrow, but I haven't heard back on my additional request?
Yeah, so I apologize for that. So there's obviously a specific challenge with your application because we do not have a backlog anymore, so that information is inaccurate. And so you should be able to move forward with processing your increase. And I think if you want to work with IFA offline, they can connect you to us, and we'll see how we can get it unstuck. Thanks. I think you're muted, Nicola.
One of the other questions was, how long do I have to apply for this?
Yeah, so I think there's, a couple $100 billion remaining, but it is going fast for obvious reasons. So I would encourage you to apply today, and take the information that you glean here and the resources that we drop in the chat and available through IFA and apply. Technically, you have up until December 31st to apply in the program currently. However, it is more likely than not, like every other loan and grant program, whether it was federal, state, or municipal, it will likely be exhausted prior to that date. And just because you have applied for the loan does not ensure that you will receive funding if you are not approved and disperse those funds. So again, I would not wait. I would take this weekend and get into it and get that application in.
If the restaurant franchisor files as an S Corp and owns 4 company-owned stores that consolidate on one tax return, can we apply for all locations separately? Originally, we had one application and received $150,000.
Yeah, so if you apply under one, so similar to PPP, if you apply under one EIN, you're eligible for one COVID loan. However, you can seek an increase under that EIN up to $2 million. If you filed separately for those 4 separate locations under a separate EIN, you would have the ability to seek additional funds up to presumably $8 million, taking 4 times 2. But if you file under one singular EIN, you will file for one loan under that.
Could you repeat the formula for calculating the amount that a business can apply for above $500,000?
Yeah, so the formula is universal, so regardless of the amount you're seeking, but it is 2019 gross sales receipts minus 2019 cost of goods sold times 2.
Great. I think so. Last one. I've sent all my info requested, and I keep getting an email response stating that I don't have my 2019 taxes. I've emailed several times. Please advise.
So I guess I think what we're demonstrating is that we're unable to verify your taxes have been filed with the IRS through the 4506T transcript. This is one issue where I would counsel, working with the district office representative. They will be able to go into the individual loan file that they have access to in the portal and see if there are any other additional notes that are blocking this particular loan. In addition, they deal a lot with this particular issue and can provide counsel. But if we are not able to validate your business tax filings in 2019, that is a no-go in terms of us being able to verify that. Part of the reason that folks could obtain up to $150,000 in 2020 was at the time Congress did not allow the SBA to validate tax filings with the IRS 4506T. That is not typically the correct practice for safety and soundness in lending. So beginning with the Economic Aid Act, the Congress restored the SBA's ability to do that validation.
All right. While applying the form of real estate, is it asking if the entity owns any or personally?
It's the entity and not the personal owners or personal residents.
Great. Question for the hosts. Will we be sending the recording or the slides for this webinar? I think the answer is yes. But...
Right, yes, it is being recorded, so we'll make sure we get it out to the group. Thank you.
Great.
Cool.
All right.
Nicole, you want to take the reins and?
Yep.
This is where we decide, folks, whether or not we are pro Michigan Wolverines or we like the Boston College Eagle approach. So this is the segue. So you can vote in the chat. Go ahead, Nicole.
All right, can you see?
Yes.
Great.
That's good.
So we're gonna give you some instructions on how to navigate the COVID EIDL portal, and primarily this will be for those of you submitting new loan requests. There'll be a screen at the end that will relate to loan modification requests, but if you have questions and you already have a loan and you're actually seeking an increase, and you think maybe I'm missing something as I'm going through, that's why, because this will be geared at those new applicants. So first, you fill out, before any of this, you fill out the COVID EIDL intake form, and you can find that at sba.gov/EIDL. There's a big red button that says start my application, and that's the intake form that you'll fill out. At that site, there's also an application intake instructions manual that has basically a side-by-side instructions of how to fill out the intake form, what we're asking, why we're asking it for each question. So you could pull up both windows as you go through for guidance. So this step happens once you've actually completed and submitted that intake form. After you complete it, you'll receive an email from disaster customer service at sba.gov asking you to set up a portal account. So you'll want to make sure that that email didn't go to your spam or that that email is on your safe sender list. To do so, to sign up for the account, you'll enter your email and a password. There's some slight constraints on your password. It has to be at least 6 characters, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, and 1 number. And then you'll complete 2-factor authentication using your email. So we'll email you once you fill out your login credentials just to validate that account. Once you validate the account through the 2-factor authentication, you'll be able to sign in using your email and your password. Your email will always be your username from that point on. This is going to be a unique username and password to anything else that you've set up at the SBA. So even if you have another SBA loan that you have an account for, this will be a unique account. So first, when you log in, you're going to see your loan quote, and then you'll see below that the steps that you need to complete in order to fully submit your application. So the intake form was really just the first step, and these are all essential steps to actually get your application submitted. You'll see, so here we have a loan quote of $350,000, status eligible, and then you can see in the green box, you're eligible, please review your loan amount. So then you will click this review and accept the amount under the loan quote. It's not this box, it's this link right here in red. So once you click that amount, you'll be taken to this slider screen where you'll see that loan quote, a slider, and you can type into the text box or use the slider to change the amount of loan that you're requesting. So maybe you're eligible for $350K, but you only want to borrow $250,000. You would either drag that slider down until you see that amount or just type it in to the text box. You can see the corresponding monthly payment amounts in the loan breakdown section so that you'll know how much you'll be obligated to pay each month depending on the size of loan that you select. Once you lock in exactly what you want here, you'll click accept. That brings you to this screen. So I chose $250,000. My amount is now confirmed because I confirmed it on that past screen. I can change my amount right now before I've submitted the account if I want to go back. The next step would be to complete these steps to complete in the box at the bottom of the screen. So we'll start with verify identity. You just click continue to move forward and answer a few out of wallet questions that are pulled from your personal credit history and other verified documentation. So it'll be things like, when is your birthday, what year were you born, which name are you associated with, etc., that you'll use to make sure you are who you say you are. If this step fails, you can continue in the process and an SBA representative will reach out to you to validate your identity. So the next step to complete is your electronic disbursement information. This would be the bank account that you would like the funds deposited in. So you completed that on the intake form initially, but if you need to change the account or you have any corrections, you can fix those here. Once you click continue, you'll be brought to the upload document section, or you'll click on the step to upload documentation. So here is where you upload your 2019 business tax return, your SBA form resolution if that's required, and any other required documents will be listed here. So the question earlier in the webinar might be where you downloaded that form, or maybe you uploaded your business tax form here, but in the next step, when it tells you to download the 4506T, maybe you didn't actually re-upload it back into the portal. Then you click continue. And this is where you'll sign your 4506T. Upon clicking sign, you'll see the 4506T screen. Once you've signed, we send it to the IRS to obtain your tax information. Just to note that if you have your pop-up blocker on, you might not see the screen, so that might be causing errors for you. You'll just want to turn that off. Great, so now we've completed all the steps needed and the status has changed to submit for processing. You'll click that. It turns into a button. You'll click submit. And once you submit, you can't edit any of this information while your application is in the processing form. You'll need to do so via a loan officer or you can call and request that you needed to edit some information. So now your application is in the processing stage. So you see that in your status, your application is being processed, and you see it in the red status bar at the top of the page. This means it's at the SBA and we're reviewing your application. During the processing stage, there is a chance that your loan amount might be changed or resized. So this could happen automatically through the system. There's a set of rules that looks at your tax return numbers and resizes your loan based on what you're eligible for and the formula. Or it could be done by a loan officer if they're reviewing your application. And so in this case, I had selected 250,000 and my loan has now been resized to 200,000 based on the tax returns and the 4506T that I submitted. It's not an automatic resize and continue through the process. You have to actually review and accept that amount. You'll get a notification if this happens by email, so you'll want to just click to come in and click that red link to review and accept the amount. You'll see a similar screen to before, just without the slider, to select and accept. So once the review is finished and if the loan is approved, you'll see that in the status bar, a green little box says your application has been approved and you've moved into the funding status on the status bar. The final thing that you will need to do in order to receive your funds is to actually review and sign the final closing documents. So you'll hit continue here, click start next to review, sign the documents in the DocuSign process pictured here. You check I agree, read the forms, and execute them. At that point, you've completed all the steps you need to. The funds initiate disbursement, and you'll probably see the funds in your bank account within 72 hours. Once the status has moved from funding to funded, that means the loan has been dispersed. So just back to this page really quickly, I mentioned at the top that the request more funds, if you're looking for a loan increase, that whole process that I just walked through probably doesn't apply to you so much, maybe certain parts. But if you're looking for an increase, you'll actually already be on this page, and this request more funds button will be showing in your portal when you log in. And so you'll click request more funds to initiate the increase process. There you would have another slider screen or a select amount to put in the amount that you are actually requesting on that increase. And we have additional screenshots for that we can send across for you all as well. So that is the portal walkthrough. I see a few questions. I don't know how to get to my portal. How do I get to it? So you would have had an email for your linking to your portal from that email I mentioned. I think it's disaster customer service.sba.gov. So search that in your email box, or you can call this number right here on the questions to help get backlogged into your portal, or you can reach out to your district office and they'll be able to help find your account for you. Let's see, where do I find the criteria or restrictions on the use of funds? So we walked through that earlier today. That is also at sba.gov/EIDL. So you can see that again. Oh, please put the email up again. Yes, ma'am. I will put up right here. Right here.
I put it in the chat, Nicola.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for answering my question regarding the backlog. Mentioned someone getting help with someone offline to help, as I seem to have been involved in the previous backlog. How can I make that connection? You can reach out to your SBA district office and they'll be able to see where you are in the process, and you can see contact info for your district office at sba.gov. Anna, do you know the specific link to where at sba.gov?
I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome. All right. That's all the questions we have so far. Are there any others folks have? I'm just choosing to ignore the Ohio State question. What if you don't have a district office? I think everyone should, right?
Yeah, so every state and territory, there's 68 of them. Some states have multiple, and they'll have an actual district office and satellite offices, but the link that Anna put in the chat will help you find yours by your zip code, and you'll reach out. But quite frankly, if you call any of them, they should be able to help you. But the zip code should help get you the one that's most geographically close to you.
Great. Did you say that if I currently have an account funded at 500,000, I would have the opportunity to increase to 2 million? My account does not show that. I just checked. So in this case, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So first off, if you're seeing in the portal and the green button says processing, so I guess I'll pause and see if you can chat and tell us. So show her, yeah. So show the. So if that green button is saying your loan is being your increase is being processed, then you wouldn't be able to see, you wouldn't have the option to apply for increase. Has the person responded yet to that?
Yeah, they said they're in the completely funded status.
Okay. And then the next question I would have for them is when they do the calculation for the gross injury formula, taking 2019 gross sales receipts minus 2019 cost of goods sold that they reflected on their tax returns times 2, what amount does that generate? And the key being what you filed in 2019.
We don't have that figure, but I'm pretty sure I would still have amount available.
Okay. Well, I think that's the place to start. So, pull out your 2019, typically a lot of folks Schedule C filing, look at the gross sales receipt number, look at the cost of goods sold number, and then make sure that number times 2 gives you an amount in excess of 500,000. And then what I'd like you to do, if after doing that, you you've validated that. I would like you to take a screenshot of your portal, and then you can include your loan ID number. And then I believe, Nicola, we have an email address and some information that we want folks to include. Do you have that in front of you, or I can pull it up? Let me,
That's a different email and screenshots, but I will send you my email so that you can send me the example if you think that your amount should be eligible for 2 million and you're still not seeing the button. So I'm going to put it here in a response to your question, Naomi.
okay, great.
Here's one. Another one when I log in and does not have a request more funds button. So it's the same logic that Patrick just walked through for you as well. So if you do the calculation and you think that you should be eligible for more, I'll just provide my contact to you so that you can send us some screenshots if you're in the completely funded status and still not seeing it.
The last thing that I'll also say too is if you previously applied for an increase and were declined for that increase, that would also preclude the button from showing as well.
Great. I requested 500K total. I had already received an issue with 4506T resubmitted. My portal only reflects the 150K original amount.
Yeah, so if you've not yet been approved in your reconsideration to go to 500,000, it would reflect that. And so if you're wondering what the status of your reconsideration is, you can take your loan ID number, contact your district office with that loan ID number, and then they should be able to give you greater insight where it is in the process.
All right. There's one that I want to get back to. Yep, there it is. 1 second. I have owned a home-based travel agency franchise since 2012. I've applied and keeping told my business does not show up as a franchise, which it clearly does. What can I do? I'm getting no answers.
You've applied and we cannot validate that you are a business with that's in business, or is it that we can't validate your franchise association? I'm sorry, just repeat the question, Nicole.
I have owned a home-based travel agency franchise since 2012. I have applied and keep being told my business does not show up as a franchise, which it clearly does. What can I do?
So one of the things that you could do is approach the district office, and if you have an executed franchisor agreement, that would be one step towards validation for that. And on your reconsideration process, that could be additional information that could be brought to bear to help you.
All right.
Patrick, I might just chime in on that one too. I would also encourage that person to check and make sure that their brand is on the SBA franchise directory, because if it's not, then that might be the issue, as I think you alluded to, Patrick.
Yep.
All right. I think that's most of the questions.
And I know we're coming up at your time too. You both have been so generous. This is one of the greatest webinars we've ever held. Of course, with our good friends Julie and Anna in the past as well. So just want to thank you, Patrick, Nicola, and Talisha, of course. This is amazing content. We'll push it out far and wide with our memberships, and just really appreciate how you're keeping us in business over the last year and a half. And we know you're working day in, day out every day for our members. So thank you so much for your diligence and your hard work. Talisha, any last comments?
Hey, you said it great. Thank you, Patrick and Nicole and Deidre, just for what you all are doing to, again, help the smallest franchisers. And so we appreciate you being here. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah, thank you to everybody, and we appreciate everybody's patience. The process could be better. It has some off days. We're working tirelessly since July to make it better. These improvements will be helpful, obviously, and we thank IFA and the Black Chamber for getting the word out and making sure that folks understand that they can get relief through the recovery. I would also want to be remiss if I did not make a pitch to those who are contemplating vaccination. Please stop contemplating and take the plunge. If everybody gets vaccinated, it's one of the single most important things we can do for economic recovery for small businesses is to put this disease behind us. So please take advantage of that. That's it.
Thank you, Patrick. Have a
All
great
right.
day, everybody.
See you
Take care.
guys. All
Thank
right.
you.